All right. Hello, all. It's Anni here, and welcome to this new live. And I'm here with my new friend, my old friend. Why I'm saying new? My old friend Mandy from Texas. You already know Mandy. So, hi, Mandy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. If somebody could put in the chat if they could hear if my um, microphone's working because it's
Your microphone
kind
is
of new to
working
me.
good, but maybe put a little bit closer to your mouth, a little bit more down, so it's yeah.
Down like that.
Yes, good. Good, good. So I will just check that everything is working and
I
yeah,
feel like it's in the way.
everything is working really well. So yes, today we have an interesting topic, dopamine and caffeine,
Yeah,
how they are connected. And Mandy, you
right.
have such a good information what we were speaking, and that's why I just thought that we have to do live about this topic
Yeah,
because
we have to do a live today. We were like wanting to do it, both
yeah,
of us.
yes, and there are so many experts out there that talk about all that dopamine fast and about dopamine and other addictions, but this caffeine stuff is still like so hidden that many people doesn't understand that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and it's so funny when well, it's not funny, but when we first quit and you don't know anything you might have heard about dopamine, for me, for example, I heard about dopamine throughout my
it's
life
so
and serotonin and things like that, but I didn't know anything about it. And then we quit cold turkey and then we go through what we go through and then we're just so out of it and everything. And so it's so interesting now being more elevated and every 3 to 4 to 6 months being in a new phase up when you come back and reintroduce yourself to things that you've been learning the whole way, how it just, there's so much more clarity to it. And so, most people that are going through this process of quitting and going through post acute withdrawal and having the anxiety symptoms, I think most people are pretty educated on at least knowing what, dopamine is.
yeah.
And I think we've done a pretty good job talking about the process and the symptoms and the healing, but just really getting down to why this journey is what it is.
Yep.
It really does have mostly to do with dopamine. It really does.
It does.
And then we have the science. You and I both have the science behind that and the information, which is it important to know the information? I think for the beginning, it is important.
It is.
But like we know, this journey can take a long time for some people, and so when you're going through it, and it can take months or years for some, you still got to go through it. I just think that my whole experience would have been completely different if I would have went to the doctor and then they said, "Oh, okay, you quit. You're off every single substance, especially caffeine. Your dopamine's just depleted." And then, you go into the different resources like the Quitting Caffeine group, and there's people talking about, "Oh, take supplements for it," And if you really, the tricky thing about looking up caffeine withdrawal on the internet, you're not going to find anything. But if you start to really analyze different neurotransmitters and adrenals and the whole process of the nervous system being dysregulated, and you really kind of dive in and ask specific questions, then you can piece together what's really happening. But if you just type in, caffeine withdrawal, 12 days, whatever, and there's just so much more than that.
Yeah.
And we've done a pretty good job explaining the process, but I just thought today would be fun to really dive into the whole dopamine.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited about this. And even I did presentation just a few days ago about dopamine and how it's connected to all our other neurotransmitters, and how it's connected to our memory and our mood and our movement and our even our trauma healing, and even so many things, fatigue, everything is about the imbalance of dopamine. I think this is echoing a little bit, but
oh no.
Hope.
Do I need to turn it down?
I think your voice is really good, but it's just like maybe you can put a little bit milder the volume settings, and then also maybe put the mic a little bit closer your mouth.
Is that better?
Yes, it's good. So yeah, so I'm really excited to speak about this dopamine stuff in English, and then I also have to read one comment. Also, I want to read it in loud, because there is Jennifer is there, and Jennifer said, "It's the worst experience of my life. I've never had issues before I quit this drug." And Jennifer also says, "I hate when people say it's an underlying issue. Like, no, never in my life did I ever had any kind of issue." So yes, Jennifer, our heart goes out with you, and it really is because of caffeine, and people just doesn't understand that. So
hi, Jennifer.
You got this good.
You're not alone. Yeah, it's so irritating. You know what, I've really done a deep dive into the whole underlying issue. It's not an underlying issue, but when you start to really understand how it all works, that, okay, caffeine was masking or suppressing emotions, but it doesn't mean that, and that's a whole nother thing, that once you become more recovered, you start to experience all that. But, you know, this is what got me into wanting to talk about dopamine today, because Ani was saying yesterday to me how dopamine is responsible for emotion releasing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like, in emotion regulation, I'm like, oh, because I feel like I've known a little bit about dopamine, but there's so much to know about it, you know? And then, but anyway, so the whole thing about it's an underlying issue. We're not born with anxiety. We're not born with depression. So it's not an underlying issue.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
It was masking fatigue. So it's masking that, but it's not masking a mental illness. Like, the mental illness is, and I get passionate about this, the mental illness is the nervous system dysregulation. And it's just symptoms because the nervous system is freaked out because you've been on a substance. That's why we talk about the allostasis and the allostatic load, going back to homeostasis, there's all that. And it's just stress on the body. Like, the body was under stress the whole time we were on caffeine, but we were also getting dopamine. So we were functional, but we were having, especially as we got older and older, we were starting to have issues with like hormones. And that's what I want to talk about a lot today. But yeah, I just want to give this extra piece and reassurance to Jennifer. Jennifer, right?
Yes, Jennifer.
I always get Melissa and Jennifer's mixed up. Because who is this? Who is this Jennifer? Have we heard from her before? Is she in there?
I think Jennifer, you are pretty new in this. Are you at 4 months or 5 months? I don't actually remember. Mandy, your voice is amazing when it comes out pure, but it's a problem when you don't speak directly in the mic. It goes very mild. So I don't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can you put the mic in the? Is it like you can put the?
I don't know. It's so weird. It's just in my way if I have it. It's like a pee-pee.
Yeah, or then you just speak. But it's really good to sound when you just speak in the mic.
I'm sorry. So did I get missed? Was it missed?
No, it's not missed. It's just like when you are. It
goes away a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have to be like right on it for it to pick up. You would think that it would pick it up just being in the vicinity of it.
Or then it's just...
Anyway, okay, I'm going to try to... I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. I'm going to go get my smoothie real quick.
Yeah, go get it.
Okay.
Yes. So, and also, guys, put something in the chat. What do you think about the quality of the sound now? Is it echoing, or if there is anything? Because I always want to know, because I try to fix these things, and I want to make a good quality also with the sound. So put please in the chat. Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I'm here babysitting my friend's dogs for the next 10 days. And it's been, I don't know if you can see them over here on me. Aww. They're so great. And this has been my gig for the last year. I've been here a year doing this when I finished college. I just want to let people know that, you can do whatever you want when you start getting better. And
to not worry if you can't work and that's something interesting too about men and women on this journey, because throughout yesterday, me really diving into the dopamine kind of pathways and everything, that why men and women are kind of different on this journey, and I really do think it has to do with hormones.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit about that, because we have more estrogen and progesterone, even though men do as well. And we also have DHEA and testosterone, but they have more of that. Plus they have more muscle. So men can work out a little bit more. They don't have workout intolerance like we've experienced.
Yep.
Which is so normal. They can kind of work a little bit more, even though they're going through stuff and it's struggle and it's hard, but they can work out. And it's because they have more, I believe it's because they have more of the DHEA and testosterone, even though we have a little bit of that. And I just think that's really interesting. So if anybody wants any more information on that, they can do like that deep dive, like I said earlier, that specific research when it comes to this confusion, because no one knows. I mean, the doctors aren't telling us. People are, we get that, we've been going through this almost 5 years, and we understand that the information is not just a click away,
Yeah.
You have to piece it all together.
Really, and that's so important, because then there are people, and by the way, I want to answer Jennifer before I go further. Jennifer Jennifer says, yes, I'm 4 months in my journey. Hello, thank you girls so much. You have no idea how much you helped me, because there is no information about this anywhere. I lost my job during this journey too. Yes, my heart goes so much out with you. I also lost everything. I lost my functionality. Mandy also, what is the deal. We promise you, it's really hard what you are going through now, I know. And I wish I could just take it away, but we promise. It's not just I promise. There is now we promise that with time it gets better.
It really does. Because the dopamine grows. It really is about the dopamine. And here's the thing. Here's why it takes so long, or can take so. I don't want to scare, because it's not the way you feel. Jennifer, I'm specifically talking to you. It's not the way you feel now. It's going to keep feeling that way the whole time, because the dopamine starts to grow, and there's billions of them, right? And plus all the other neurotransmitters and all the other hormones and all the 12 systems in the body. We talk about that all the time. And so, we get those windows and waves, and it takes energy to rewire and heal. And so the dopamine isn't always kind of online. It'll give you little bits and because you'll start to get, I didn't get my first really good glimpse until about 4.5 months.
Yeah, it took me time, a lot of time.
Yeah, and everyone's going to be different. All of our journeys are different, but I got a first kind of relief of like 4.5 months. And then between 4.5 and 6, it was and I remember thinking, oh, okay, I think I'm going to be able to start working out in the next month or two, by month 7. But anyway, but it really just is about dopamine. And then the whole thing of just take supplements and take phenylalanine and take tyrosine or whatever. And it's it just doesn't, we get that from food anyway, from protein anyway. And just the fact that it's going to rewire the way it does it slow. That's why we have the video, No Quick Fix, because you can't just take a supplement and expect all those neurotransmitter, all the dopamine being a neurotransmitter. It's down-regulated, dysregulated. And then when you quit, especially cold turkey, and then everything, it's just you're flat because you're not getting it from the drug anymore. The brain stopped making it while we're on substances.
Yeah.
And so, it taking time to grow back is part of the process. And just doing research on, okay, well, why doesn't it just come back in a couple months or a couple weeks? Why can it take years? But the whole process of, if it does take years, it really does get better and better. And so,
Yeah, and one point that is important, because I know that not everyone, of course, have the same intensity. They don't fall off the mountain with this drug. That's, of course, everyone can have different experience also with the anxiety. Not everyone have a high anxiety. But I also want to point out that we are speaking of the point of view that we don't take anything else. So we don't take any other substances your journey can be very different also, because if you're taking any meds, if you're smoking weed, cigarettes, alcohol, if you're taking supplements, I just want to point these things out because they are all messing up with those neurotransmitters. All the things, all the other things. So that is not judging. I'm just saying that then the journey can look whole lot of different. I don't say that you can still have high anxiety. You can even have the panic and all the symptoms. And I think some way the rewiring is happening because people can heal first like one addiction and then you can quit other drugs later. But then it's different. But if you quit everything and you are free from all mind-altering drugs, and if you still have a lot of difficulties in your 3 years, even 4 years, just know that is normal after caffeine.
Yeah.
Quitting.
Exactly. That's so good. And yeah.
Even porn addiction, if you are addicted to porn, that sure can mess your dopamine. So I just want to point these things out so the information would be there.
That's really good, because it's so important to know that any substance it works on dopamine, especially caffeine. And the fact that caffeine is blocking the adenosine, which then raises the dopamine, that right there is different than any other drug, I believe. Even
it is.
We talked about that last time. Even cocaine goes directly to dopamine.
Yeah, that's why it's like porn. It's main up in dopamine. The gambling main up the dopamine. Of course, there are other, but caffeine. That's why this adenosine stuff that I have tried to explain in on my ways in many years and put these presentations out there. It's so important that the dopamine and adenosine connection, because caffeine blocks the adenosine, and there is so much about that people doesn't understand how we really adapt with that drug with time and what it really does to our system and those neurotransmitters and those receptors. And yeah, so that's why it's so what is the word, Mandy, teeter-totter, like you always say, the journey is teeter-totter, is roller coaster ride, because it tries, those neurons are trying to connect, trying to communicate, and your subconscious and conscious mind is trying to connect, but before it really gets there, it's gonna be bumpy ride for many, but it gets there.
Yeah, and I want to tell for Jennifer, just in your moments that are hard, just to know that you're free from such an underestimated drug. Yes, I know it's hard, but you know what it is. It really is this process. And people just don't understand if they haven't been through it. But to know that you're free and that you are going to have, I don't know how old you are, but you're going to have the most healthy life, because caffeine does so many terrible things to our brain and body. And so to just give you, because I didn't have that, when I was at your time frame, I was still going to so many doctors. I was confused. I was spending a lot of money. I was told it was anxiety. I said, no, I've had anxiety before, because I had mild, but I was functional. I could work out. I had hormone issues. I didn't know that caffeine was affecting me. So when I say anxiety, I don't mean the type of anxiety that we get when what we call falling off the mountain, but because there's different levels to it. And the thing about fight or flight, and the thing about going into complete survival mode, because you'll hear people throughout their life saying, oh yeah, I'm in survival mode. You hear people all the time in their 20s, 30s, like, oh yeah, I'm just in survival mode, whatever.
Yeah.
People understand about fight or flight, but when you're on caffeine and you're functioning, you're not really in fight or flight. You're not really in survival mode. It's when you quit and your brain is like, where's my drug? And it's like, doesn't have any dopamine anymore. And it's stressed because of it's going back to homeostasis and the whole rewiring, that it just causes so much that you really then go into fight or flight, like true fight or flight, true survival mode, where you don't care. I mean, there's no food doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Money, we talk about that. We've always talked about if somebody handed us $1 million,
Nothing.
We wouldn't care. That's it. That is survival mode. All your body cares about is surviving. It doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care about being social.
Your personality is lost. Your personality is lost. Who you are is lost. You don't know who you are. Like all this is really normal in that. There is also like Santa Cruz is asking like about the B vitamin complex and raw vitamin C. Is there bad? So I'm gonna answer this very straight, because it's not that I'm scaring anyone, but the thing is like this: some people have had really bad reactions for B vitamins and magnesium, even like really hard setbacks, like months and months and months. So that's why I'm putting this information out, not saying that what to do, but just I wouldn't take, because we don't need those kind of stuff anyway. And there is even the group where people have had all kind of reactions because of the B vitamins and stuff. They are also can affect your neurotransmitters. Not saying that everyone should have that reaction, but same with the bencho coaches. They say the same. There is 3 things that can happen, the supplements. It can make you feel really worse, a lot of setbacks, months and months setbacks. It can make you feel a little bit better, or it doesn't do anything. But do you want to risk that, really, if you have a sensitized nervous system? I wouldn't. Yeah. So that also for the benzo quitters who are watching this, maybe it's not good to play with supplements. And then Jennifer says, I'm 25 years old. I was taking pre-workout Red Bulls and Starbucks with 6 shots espressos. I was bad. I was an addict and I never noticed. Till first day, my body rejected it and had a panic attack, then stopped at cold turkey. Yes, it's very common story.
Yeah, the nervous system was like, this is too much stimulation. But I do want to say, you're not bad. You weren't bad for doing that.
Yes, no.
One thing I love, and I've been talking about this a lot lately with the whole, once you get to a certain point and you start having all the emotions coming out and you start realizing, about stressors and traumas in our past, and I don't know if you drink or anything or do any other substances, but and if you do, and if people do, that's okay. It's not that it's okay, but the reason why we do drugs in the first place, and even caffeine being so underestimated, is because we really are trying to suppress stuff from like back in the day, but then we become dependent on it, and our adrenals become tired from the caffeine specifically, let's just say. The dopamine we just start to need it because we're blocking the adenosine. And so all that's going on. And so we just need more and more. And so we're not bad when we consume substances. I just want you to even say the word addict, like to try, if you want, to take that out of your vocabulary of like, hey, I was just living my life and doing my best with what I knew. It's so socially accepted, like everyone's drinking it, and your body probably just got more and more in need of it. And so just to have that kind of, that was given to me because I was always saying, oh, when I was addicted or when I was an addict. And it's like, we were just doing what we were doing, and now we're free, and now we know better.
Yes.
So it's like, the more you know, but also it's not, what was the saying? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Because I drank. I was and I could beat myself up. I did a lot of consumed a lot of caffeine, but I also did other things because I felt bad. I was tired because I had been consuming so much caffeine. And so I needed the alcohol to kind of, bypass the anxiety, the mild anxiety that I had in certain times of my cycle when I had certain symptoms and feeling bad. And so was I an alcoholic? I don't think so. I think I was just drinking to make myself feel better. And then I started smoking and then gambling. I would gamble. And we have a whole thing about that. And I know you're going to do your own thing, but I was shop. I wasn't a big shopper because I was very frugal because I didn't always have a lot of money, but I like to go into places and looky-loo. And I loved to gamble, and I loved just extra little, not little addictions, but addictions that you don't think would involve dopamine, but they do.
Yes.
And I really do think that caffeine keeps people, especially when they quit. If you're kind of coming from the alcohol, and other substances, and then caffeine's kind of your last substance, because a lot of times when people are like in AA and stuff, they're still smoking, which nicotine is a dual drug. You are drink, you're consuming the caffeine when you quit in AA, and then it keeps you in a stress state, because that's what I do want to get to about more dopamine in a minute, but it keeps you in that stress state. And so when you're in that stress state, you just want, like, other addictions are just kind of there. Yeah. That aren't. It's like, and I think that's the gate. We talk about that caffeine is the gateway drug for those other addictions that you wouldn't really think are bad addictions, but can turn, it's a behavior. It's all behavior stuff.
Yeah. And this is so cool and important, because I face, when I do this, what I do here in my YouTube, and I always say that my channel is support channel for caffeine quitters, and the information that I share is, for me, it's really important. I value you, Mandy, and everything that we have done together, because with caffeine, the thing is so real that is so underestimated, but at the same time, I see it's the most dangerous drug in the world, because so many people are addicted since childhood, and that's why it always affects like a gay drug. Like many people, like you said, they go drink to alcohol because it's natural. Seek to alcohol because you seek something, you want to relax your system, you want to calm your system down. Or maybe because you are wired, you wanna go gambling. You wanna like this little. It doesn't have to be the whole gambling addiction. But I relate that. I was like somebody that I wanted to put those coins in those machines when I was caffeinated. So
they go together. Drinking, smoking, gambling, caffeine, like all of it. Just kind of you're in that state of arousal because caffeine does not give us energy, and it just raises the cortisol and adrenaline and blocks the adenosine, and so you got extra dopamine from that, but then it's raising more stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and so you're stimulated. And so what goes with the stimulation? More stimulation of the excitement of the rush of gambling. Because I would now, what I get excited about? I know I've talked about it before, but I've done it one or two more times since I talked about it last time on here. But just going to the beach and finding seashells with my friend, because there are these really beautiful little conch shells, and where I see them on the beach, and I get that same kind of feeling, almost high, that I would get when I would gamble or something. When I see a seashell that I'm about to pick up, I'm like, I just get this like burst of, I guess it's dopamine. It's just so nice, and I feel so good from it. And there's seashells.
Yes, and there is my sister Cos says like, love, grace, peace, in joy in Jesus' name, and Lord Jesus Christ can set you free from alcohol, and he did this with me. So amen. That is really amazing. And I also want to say, because I'm a believer now since July, I was born again. So even I did find like Jesus in my life, God didn't take away the rest of the symptoms that I had still, and I'm still these mighty kings. Like I said, I feel like 98% now. So I just want to say that this is and I don't say that God can heal anything. I don't say that, because he's like God and he can do whatever. But some people still have to, I know believers also who have to go through this process in the hard way. They have to, because it's something that we did to our flesh. I did this to me. I took the caffeine. I did this to me. Yeah. So I just want to say that it's not God's fault. It's not Jesus' fault that this is something that many of us, we just have to go through this hell. And
I agree 100%. I'm on the same boat that I've always had my faith, and but you can pray all day. That's why Cato says on one of his videos, you can pray all day, which is wonderful, but he can give us the grace to get through the day. Yeah, it helps to have that faith and to pray and to talk to him. It can help you get through the moment. But, and again, and I it's like we're saying the same exact thing. Like for some people, I mean, maybe it could just magically go away. I don't know. But in my experience, it hasn't, because he did design us to work. He did not design us to be on substances like caffeine and things. Drugs were designed, I don't know, but not to be on, some people say a spiritual quest sometimes or something, or just here and there or something like that. I don't know. But they're definitely not designed to be on for decades and decades, or years and years or whatever, and daily. They're not. And so what's happening, it's like, why does this happen? Why can this happen to some of us? Because we're not supposed to be on it. And then you come off of it and you're like, why is it so awful? And it's like, because, but how cool is that he did design us to heal, even if it takes a few years for some people.
Yeah. And that's like, that is I think the creation, the natural God's creation, that we are his image. We shouldn't have this anxiety like that. That's why we were adapted to caffeine. And like I said to your people, don't blame yourself like Jennifer and other, because we didn't know. I was 3 years old when I went to caffeine, and many people are like, because chocolate and Coke are caffeine, they are children's caffeine drugs. They are dangerous drugs. So we didn't know. We are just living like we thought, like it's normal.
And what about the placenta? What about if your parents are your mother's consuming caffeine? It goes through the placenta if they're breastfeeding. So we've been on it before, maybe.
Yeah, in the mother's womb. But caffeine goes through the placenta. It also goes in the mother's milk. So, and actually one weird thing is that I heard from one nurse that they give in the newborn babies caffeine because the sleep apnea, because what is actually withdrawing. So
yeah. Yeah. I don't think babies are supposed to cry the way they can, because, think about it in nature. If you had a baby and then a predator, like that is something that's happening now in this society because of things like withdrawal. And and people are like, oh, I just have a colicky baby or a crying baby, and it's like, oh my gosh, your baby could be withdrawing like that. And if the mother, I wasn't breastfed, but my mom consumed coffee when she had me, when she was pregnant with me.
Yeah, same.
So I don't know if she never said I was crying.
Yes, Kato's videos are great. Yes. Hi, Multimegabeak.
Hey. Yeah, and so the whole dopamine aspect. And so another thing, the way it kind of goes, like healing isn't linear. We know all that. We know about windows of waves and all that. But what I've been feeling lately, and I didn't know it really until recently, I was really able to have that clarity with it that I've been feeling for the last, I'd say, year and a half, more and more and more. Is it like, okay, yeah, sometimes I still might have some symptoms, but I'm able to push more and just, go out with loved ones, go to a concert, go to the beach, go have lunch, whatever. Even though I still might experience some light symptoms, but it's because of the dopamine growing back and back and back slowly that the dopamine overrides the symptoms. But the symptoms are still there only because the body is still under stress, and the body is the dopamine isn't 100%. And so if the dopamine isn't, all the billions of receptors and neurons and the what are they called? Not receptors, but the synapses. And all of it, there's billions, trillions. And so it's not 100% because, again, it can't just happen all at once. And so that's why we have windows and waves. And so you just get to a place where you're kind of like, I think I still kind of feel something, but yet I feel so much better, and I feel happy and I feel motivated. And then you're like, but why do I still kind of feel some stuff here and there? And it's because that dopamine isn't there. And so if that dopamine isn't 100% there, then you're still going to have symptoms until they just fade. And it all just kind of naturally just fades away. The symptoms fade as the dopamine gets higher. I wish I kind of had like a little diagram with it. It's almost like, here's the symptoms, here's the dopamine, and it starts to go like that. But then it's like that. It's balanced, but yeah.
Yes, and I would, Mandy, love to hear, because there is a lot of women who have been asking me about those hormones and why do they have so bad periods and stuff. Could you explain a little bit about the dopamine and women's hormones?
Yeah, so I have all that written down because I have it in my head, but this is what's the coolest about this. So how many viewers are right now?
There is now 13.
Wow, 13?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so most of us know about dopamine, but do we know what the precursor, meaning like, do we know what makes cortisol? Does anybody know what makes cortisol?
Adrenaline.
The stress hormone. This is going to blow people's minds. Like, this is so amazing.
I don't even know if I know adrenaline.
Not cortisol, adrenaline.
Okay.
What is the precursor? Because cortisol, there's another, I'm going to get to so sorry, I didn't mean to. There's a precursor to adrenaline and there's a precursor to cortisol. There's a whole chain of how it goes. And so the precursor to adrenaline, and then I'm going to get to the precursor of cortisol because that's going to really help women understand why this happens with their hormones. But if anybody wants to put in the chat for fun,
put in the chat if you know what neurotransmitter. So it is the neurotransmitter. So
yeah. And we've been talking about it, so that's a giveaway. But it is the precursor to adrenaline. So, okay, so dopamine. So it goes like this. So that's why they say, oh, take phenylalanine, a supplement, and we'll know. But it goes phenylalanine that you get from diet, then it's converted to tyrosine, which is an amino acid. They're both amino acids that your body will not make on its own. Mm-hmm. You have to get it from protein. And then it makes L-dopa, and then it makes dopamine, and then norepinephrine, methylated into epinephrine, which is adrenaline. So if you're high stress on caffeine, which is raising your dopamine, so you're getting dopamine two ways when you're on caffeine. You're getting it from blocking adenosine and raising the dopamine, and then you're getting it from being stressed. But the thing is, when you quit and you have your higher stress, so your higher adrenaline, and then you're not getting dopamine from blocking adenosine and getting it that way, and then you're flat, your body's so stressed, it's eating the dopamine. It's like literally, because it takes dopamine to make adrenaline. So that's why it takes so long, because it's this vicious cycle of stress, eating dopamine, and then the dopamine's trying to make it's trying to grow back, but it takes dopamine to make freaking adrenaline. I don't think I knew that.
Wow. So let's see if I could make it simple. This is really cool information because I didn't even know that. So let's say, okay, we have this high stress in the journey. So, and then we have really low dopamine. We crave the junk food or whatever. We crave it so much. But then when we have high stress, that's kind of eat that tiny bit of dopamine because it's need that to make a adrenaline kind of.
Well, let me just say too. So let's just say for some reason, no one's on caffeine. Like we weren't on caffeine as kids, but you were in a very stressful environment. Getting yelled at. Your adrenaline and your cortisol is going to raise, your trauma, your stressors. So literally stress is causing this as well. But then people most likely get on Cokes and chocolate as a kid, and they go to tea and coffee. And so they're already stressed from the childhood and the whatever they're getting yelled at or whatever, they're scared. That's causing stress. So that's taking your dopamine while you're a kid before you even get on higher amounts of caffeine, possibly. And then so you're already low dopamine. And so then when you find substances later, it kind of boosts the dopamine and other neurotransmitters. And so that's why I believe that's why people become addicted. I don't believe that people just have a genetic predisposition for addiction.
Yeah, I
think it's stress causing low dopamine. I know, because people talk about it all the time. Oh, stress, but no one's talking about that it takes dopamine to make adrenaline.
Amazing.
And I can send you kind of the
that explains so much also this exercise stuff. That, okay, let's say that I did have the exercise intolerance up till, but now I can do it again, yippee, because I have so much motivation and dopamine. But anyway, this explains, because I have having so much stress from the exercise, I didn't have dopamine. So it took all the dopamine to make the adrenaline, which you make anyway when you exercise. So you cannot do that. You cannot.
Yeah.
Or some, maybe men can, like you said, men can. We have seen there are men that can do exercise in this journey, but they have more, first of all, they have more DHEA and testosterone. And also they tolerate better those.
Right. They can tolerate stress better than women.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's all about stress. It's all connected. When people say it's all connected, it really is all connected. And so then Was anybody commenting or anything?
Yeah, Kush says, I tried decaffeine. Yeah, it's a good start. Yes. Decaf still have caffeine, but that is good start if you have been on caffeine. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Someone like Jennifer, she's at a place where this information's good to know, but you still have to go through the process of waiting, kind of being patient and waiting for your beautiful neurotransmitters, your dopamine to make it on its own. And then you're going to be picking up high from picking up seashells. Yes. I did not care about seashells in the beginning. I did not care about, and again, I did not care about money or being pretty or being fun and right now, if somebody, even if I'm having a kind of a funky day because of my cycle, which I'm going to get to the women and their cycle next, I have a funky day, maybe I'm kind of like pouty and just want to laze around on the couch and eat and watch Netflix, which is nice too, because that's rest. That's another important thing. We have to wrap our brains around. We're not lazy, we're resting. We are prioritizing our bodies for rest. It's so important. But let's just say I'm having one of those days around my cycle and somebody said, hey, Mandy, all paid vacation to blah, 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 wherever. I'd be like, when do my bags need to be packed? You know, I'm ready to go. Like, that's where I'm at now. But before, if somebody did that, I mentally or physically could not get excited about going because I had fear of traveling, but I also just didn't have any motivation. Like, it wasn't fun because there was no dopamine.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that before too, like about cleaning or doing chores, because it takes dopamine. Like, as you're actually cleaning, if you have no dopamine and it's just not there because there's so much energy being spent on other things. So it's not like we have no dopamine, but it's very low.
Oh, and I will go into one thing in the dopamine, but I will take a chat. So yeah, Multi-McCormick say, yeah, I exercise from day one, but I am a male. Yes, but you have been doing so amazing work. You got this. Santa Cruz, I do full service shopping for customers, so I get nervous that if I quit coffee, I may not have the same energy to completely delivers, but I know that it's all in my head. Yeah, a day before periods is always the worst, say Jennifer, and to complete delivers. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So the second one, you could wean off.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
And then you could, but hey, like, you go through it, like someone like me, Ani, and Jennifer, we just didn't know. We just started feeling bad, or you fall off the mountain on it because your nervous system gets dysregulated on it, or you quit and you start going through the symptoms, and then you're kind of stuck because you can't go back. We couldn't go back. Our nervous system was too dysregulated. So then it's like, oh, the only way to go is forward. And then, because I hear that a lot of time, like, people are like, I have to work. Like, what would I do? And it's like, you have to totally surrender to the fact that you might not, like we were. I mean, I don't know for everybody, but your life, and then perspective, your whole perspective about what's important in life really starts to shift, because you're like, oh, I thought this was important. I thought that was such an important part of life, when it's really about, truly about our health.
Yeah. And I wish I could have all this information. See, I started to do this helping people when I was about 8 months off. Incompletely health still was on in my head, going on in my body. But there was something about this caffeine that I knew that there is something worth of this to make whole YouTube channel dedicated just for this caffeine quitting stuff, because nobody really weren't talking about things that we started to talk about, except keto.
Yeah.
Except keto, but nobody else. And now look at this, like, there have been hundreds and hundreds of people going through the same. I don't know how many people I have messaged me. I cannot count anymore. There is a lot of people. Yeah. People need help. There is not enough help to offer. So just know that caffeine can do this, and also that our body can heal after that. And whatever your age is, some people are young in this journey, some people are like middle age like we, and then there are old people. But there is healing happening when we quit this and we go back to
any drug. And we talk about caffeine so much because it's so underestimated, but honestly, any drug that downregulates the dopamine and all the other neurotransmitters. And
yeah, So I want to say one thing about your dopamine, but there is like, I used to be at 1 gram per day. Now I'm at 190 milligrams. Yeah, that's really good to drop. Good drop for sure.
So smart.
Yeah, very smart. Yeah, I tried to go back and you can't. Once you start, you have to complete the journey. Yes, through that. It's so bad, but thank God it happened to me sooner rather than later, because I was consuming so much without knowing the harm. Yes, you are really fortunate in that, Jennifer, that you are 25. So
I know that is so like that right there makes me so happy, because we're in our 40s. I'll be 46 next month.
Yeah.
And I still even feel like, ooh, okay, like I've got enough youth still, and I'm excited about the rest of my life. And then but to be 25 and know this, oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna enjoy the life, girl. Okay, so the dopamine stuff that I'm also was been interesting, because I did have this really like low digestion, kind of like I have all these digestion issues. I didn't know that that's also, the dopamine is connected to our digestion. Yeah. So that also, when you start to have like more that dopamine natural energy, and when those adenosine stuff also starts to work, so you start to naturally gain muscle, which have now recently happened to me, which is weird because I have now big legs and I don't know what to think about that. Even I don't do nothing. So you are able to gain muscle, and then you are also able to like naturally you start to lose weight, because dopamine is also connected to losing weight. And I didn't know that. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why I have this cortisol belly? Why I have cortisol hips? Even I'm eating healthy, I'm trying to exercise, even I couldn't at the level that I did before. So
yeah, because if we're high cortisol and it's eating our dopamine, yeah, the cortisol belly and the cortisol hit. Yep. Yeah, you start getting that dopamine and it just all works. It's like the way God intended us to work.
But why nobody tells this in school? I would have to have this information. And then there are also all those fat burners, coffee fat burners that women are taking to coffee pills to lose weight. Oh, that's like crazy. You're gonna just end up in stress state and you're gonna just gain more weight when you get older. It doesn't work. No.
Everything's backwards. And the doctors will tell you, when I had my colitis, ulcerative colitis, which was from stress, they said it was stress. But when you hear the word stress, it's like this broad term that if you really break it down of what it can be, and that it can come from, like if you're on caffeine and then you're going through other stressors in life, it just makes everything worse. And then if you're not on this underestimated substance, how you can start to handle stress more. But while you're recovering, meaning coming back to your most authentic self, we cannot tolerate stress as well, because the whole thing I'm just saying, the dopamine's low, the cortisol's high. It's amazing.
Yes,
okay, so are there any other?
Yeah.
Did you want to say one other thing about?
I think I said it all. I think it's really interesting also the dopamine and trauma releasing connection, but I need to dive deep more in that. But basically, in shortly, because I believe like this, because the last wave that I had was really like emotional wave after the 4 years, like just emotions started to come out. And even it was hard, the crying and all the feelings. I really think that was really, really important part of the healing. Because every wave always have been a little bit different for me. Like every wave comes a little bit new stuff in the surface. So anyway, so when the dopamine you get more dopamine, meaning that your memory starts to work better. Because you actually, when you release trauma, your body can release trauma. But if you are not able to process those memories, which you need use this prefrontal cortex, which is also due to dopamine, and prefrontal cortex are connected because you need to dopamine to be able to process those memories. So I do believe that is one really huge key also in this journey, that your trauma naturally can be, and this is just my own citizen science, you can agree or not, it just comes naturally. And you just kind of have, like Mandy says, really good. This is really beautiful that you said yesterday that we did have a second chance. And I love this second chance we did get in our life when we quit this drug. And now we are processing all that, but also we should have a process maybe in our 20s. But we are, with you and me, Mandy, we have been talking about these behaviors and all. So we have a second chance now.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
So cool.
So cool.
The coolest, because there's times where I feel like a bratty little teenager, but it's like, oh, it's not bratty. I'm truly being my most authentic self, meaning I am speaking my voice. I'm using my voice, which when I was a kid, I was told to shush and, don't say that. And I remember I would tell my mom, oh, I hate that. I think I talked about this last time. Oh, I hate that. She'd say, don't say hate. Well, you're telling your child what to do and say, and then they start to, that does create an anxiety, even though we're not falling off the mountain, we're functional. Then we start to do things like consume more and more forms of caffeine with like Cokes and chocolate. And then we start to suppress those emotions, and it's easier to just become more compliant, and not be, and I was always kind of called a hard head, or like, you would argue with a brick wall when all I was doing was saying how I felt.
Yeah.
But it's like they wore me down, and then I started consuming more substances. So it's all connected. But if you grow and you're in an environment like that, where your older sister, your mother, your aunt, teachers, all these people are telling you what to do and say, I don't even like to talk about my political views because I'm afraid, or sexual orientation for other people. Like I'm afraid to just say my opinion for the fact that other people won't agree with me. Like I needed people to agree with me all the time.
Yes.
But I think that has to do with stress and fight or flight and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, Multi-McCormick says, yes, exactly same at me at 4 years. Emotional and different symptoms. Cried more than the early part of the journey. Yay.
Yeah. And crying is so good at helping release and regulate our nervous system.
It is. And you are so close. I'm so excited where you're going to be close to 5 years. Multi-McCormick, you're going to just love it. And I know that it's hard to, like, there are people, like Mandy, you said to me that one of your friends, she was talking about this, that it starts to happen. One person that called me in my 3.5 years said to me that, Anni, you are not healed yet. And I was like, what? I'm so much better. But that guy basically told me a lot of things that it was hard to believe. But okay, that those were like true in my case too. So yeah, it's really cool when it's starting to kick in, that you really notice that it's hard to explain. You're just...
It's surreal, because it's like, did we really go through what we went through? Was it really like, it's just like...
Yeah, what? It's almost like a nightmare. Like, what did happen? Like...
Yeah, and the time's going to go by anyway. So like someone like Jennifer being 25, by the time she's, the next couple of years, she's going to be rocking this life, Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, and Santa Cruz, Mountains Wildlife and Trails say, first day, I'm gonna quit and I'm going to thank you. Yes, you got this. So one day, gonna be a good day one, gonna be one day. Day one, it's going to be one day when you are running around.
I like that. So is the whole fact that dopamine is the precursor to adrenaline, is that, I know you and I are excited about that, but does anybody else get geeked out about that? Like I think,
or is it? I know we have been diving so much into neurotransmitters. You are really smart with that, Mandy, and I'm having all other information too about how caffeine restores in the body and stuff like that, which is also really interesting. But yeah, what do you guys think about this neurotransmitter information? Because I really think this is so important and cool. And what you said, now I'm learning too. This is so cool. I'm learning from you, Mandy.
Yeah. Okay. So does anybody want to know, and maybe not on there today, but I know a lot of women, like you said it, and I just know a lot of women want to know about why they feel worse around their cycle if it's not, and this is really important too, it's not just the period or before the period, but ovulation.
Yes.
Day 21, which is when progesterone's the highest, should be the highest. And then it kind of goes at a bell curve like that. And then somewhere in your period. And so for me, this is what was interesting. And if Jennifer's still here, this was interesting for me because I had PMS, PMDD for like 29 years of my life. Like every single month of my life was rage, anger, irritability, frustration, crying, a little bit of depression for like a day, like all throughout that luteal, which is called the luteal phase, after ovulation. It's like a 15-day phase. And literally, like I would say, I was like, I feel this way. I have some symptom, not the whole time, but throughout that whole week and a half until I started my period. And then I would start my period and I'd be a peach. Like it just all would go away. And it would be like the day or two before my period, it would feel like it was just going to fester, just pop. And I'd just be so frustrated. And when I quit everything, when I quit caffeine, and it was the last substance I was on, so I was quit from everything, I was still having really bad PMS. And then something after that first initial wave, that 4.5 to 6 months, because I had PMS even up to 4 months, and then something switched and I didn't have that PMS anymore in the luteal phase. I had stuff in ovulation and in my period for the first time in my life. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I started to realize, oh, that's when we're healing, because our body's always trying to heal, but we kept putting crap in our body, not knowing. And so the body was always like running on a loop instead of, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Voice-wise? Yeah. And so I was constantly putting the stressor in my body, and because it was all about stress causing me the PMS. And I kind of always knew that, and there's a lot of interesting stuff about that too. But basically what I want to say, is there a comment?
Yes, Jennifer says, yes, same. The rage before my period was insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
I had road rage really bad with my mom and with my husband.
Jennifer asked also, how do you know when you're healing already? Thank you, ladies. I hope so.
We're always healing.
Yes, always.
It's just going through the process. So like when you finally quit, and you started going through this really intense stuff that you never felt before, that's because you finally gave your body the opportunity to go from that allostatic state now to homeostasis, but everything's like, and then it's just hard because it's missing the drug that it thinks that it needed because it adapted to be on the drug. And that's why we always say when we're on substances, it's like we're running on unleaded. And then when we quit, we're getting to optimal fuel. And so, but you just have to go, I always have been saying, you got to go through it to get through it. So while the body is healing, we feel the worst when we heal the most.
Yeah.
And then you'll start experiencing windows and waves. And so I really hope that you watch a lot of our videos while you're going through the healing process, but you are healing. And so again, that's what's really important, to just give yourself that grace that you quit an underestimated drug. And yes, I know it's awful and it's hard, but it really is what it is, because I would go to the doctor sometimes and then they would be like, you're fine, it's just anxiety. And that would help me. Like I would leave the doctor's office almost feeling kind of better, like a little bit of a high, but it would come back only because the body, I think I would get maybe a hit of dopamine or something, because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not sick. I wanted them to tell me I was sick. Because I felt so bad. I wanted some kind of answer so I could fix it. And if I just would have known that it was truly the body recovering and going back to homeostasis, and it just had to go through this process while the dopamine's going back and all the other neurotransmitters and the hormones and everything, it would have just made everything so much different. But then I got to a place where I'm like, but I've always kind of had hormone issues.
Yes.
And then I get kind of confused because other people were saying, like in the Quitting Caffeine group, that they had never experienced any type of symptoms before. And I had, but and Ani too.
Yeah.
It was mild or moderate.
Yeah.
We were still functional. And then when we quit, it was like, it was just
terrible,
completely, and the symptoms just got, completely ramped up so much. And then the fact that we didn't have any of the dopamine anymore because we weren't on the drug anymore, it was just like,
Yeah,
Flat,
it
more than
almost
flat.
feels like there is all those neurotransmitters there, but they don't know where to go. So you feel everything. You feel everything that you shouldn't feel. Like
Yeah.
you just feel so much, and your body cannot handle those feelings. And I remember I have terrible cramps and all these. Like my body was just. I felt that almost like I didn't have any like I didn't have any control what my brain chemistry was doing. And like you said, the day 21 was many times that I have like weird, like bizarre energy or like terror, sometimes night terrors. And like you said, Mandy, that is probably because of the hormone fluctuations and that our body just, because the stress is taking those, you said the stress is eating those hormones also.
Yeah, and so it was the stress while we were on the substance, and everyone is affected a little bit differently. And that's another thing too, because I don't know, Jennifer, if you're doing this, but I wanted everything to be so similar. I needed everyone to say that they had the exact same symptom as me because that helped me feel like it was normal when we're going to have similar stuff, but it's not going to look identical because we are individuals. Yeah. And we have individual stuff from our past. So I had a lot of behavioral stuff like people pleasing and, oh God, seeking approval and trying to prove myself and just a talker. And that's just, part of maybe my personality, but some behavioral stuff too. So the thing about the PMS turning more into healing when we quit everything and then we're healing more in ovulation and in our period, that really is every month the body processing it out instead of just processing it out instead of cycling it through.
Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna read now the comments. So Jennifer says that, can you explain please what you mean about the windows and waves? And then also Jennifer says, if I'm having them because some days I feel fine, not my best but good, then some other days like today I feel bad. And Multi-McCormick say, yeah, it exactly same with me. Didn't think I had anxiety on caffeine, but looking back, I think I did, as in situations where I was on caffeine and I would get nervous. I don't know of caffeine. Yeah.
I'd get nervous and start talking a lot in parties. And that's why I would drink, because it would help me feel, I didn't know that's why I drank. I'm like, oh, I go to a party and I have to have a beer really quickly because it works on GABA. Oh, yeah.
So Jennifer, yeah, it definitely is windows and ways, but where you are still in this journey, you are quite early recovery. First years is still for many early recovery. So you are experiencing a little windows, but they are first so little that you don't really know about that.
But that's an indication of more to come like that. And then you'll have better days. So it got to the point for me, I was only having like 2 kind of bad days, and they weren't even really bad. I just kind of, maybe sometimes I'm lonely or I feel bored. And, but then I'm like, oh yeah, once I do more and I get out and about, I feel better. But I was so used to for so long, maybe the first like 3.5 years, I would say after 3.5 years, that's when I could start pushing. And it's like, oh yeah, when I actually do more, I feel so much better. But I was so used to being on the couch for 3.5 years, off and on. I mean, not every day. And that's another thing, the anxiety, it does cause the doubt or the symptoms of anxiety, the symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system. Because it's not just like, oh, it's just anxiety. These really are symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system that are anxiety symptoms. But it's not like, oh, we just have anxiety. I want to be clear about that. But I was like off and on, because it'll lie to you and tell you things, the doubt. But it'll also make you think you've been on the couch just staring at the wall every single day for X amount of time, which isn't true, because it's like, I know even in the beginning, I got out and about, but it's like those really bad days, were just the pits,
Yeah, and sometimes if I look back, I don't know how I did survive some of things like the physical work that I had to do, and I don't know, but we somehow we have to, like, that's why it's individual, that we, like you said, we have to surrender in this, and we our body kind of, you find your pain to you will surrender. And Jennifer, that's why I don't want to say how, we don't know how long your journey will be, but definitely it is already sign of healing that you feel a little bit better. It's a little window, and you will get more and more those windows where the moments when you start to feel really good will come in the future. And when you are healed, that's how you feel all the time. You're going to feel all the time that when you heal, pretty much.
And then we're still going to have moments of sadness when things happen, because that's normal, but we're going to, what do we have? We have bounce back, and we have more control, and we can, because that's what fight or flight is in us for protection. But it's not constant. It's not like our nervous system's like stuck in that. And I think, you know, because we talk about stress and we talk about things from childhood and things like that, but I believe not being like, let's say somebody goes through something really, really terrible for their abuse for 10 years or something, and they've got the high cortisol and adrenaline pumping through their body. If they, for some reason, don't go on any mind altering substance, I believe their body can bounce back a lot quicker than if they were on the substance and then have to deal with the trauma and the stressor, and then the rewiring of the neurotransmitters because of the drug aspect. So I don't know that 100%. I would just think that something like this, something like recovering from stress from drugs is like, I don't know, maybe it can take years for just something even without substances. I just think that the substances like create more of a rewiring need than just trauma alone. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's possible depending the person and the trauma and stuff it can take, but definitely if you are not in substances like caffeine, then it's like pure table with that. Like let's say that your body is like, it's have the total fool to fix everything that it can to do without the substances, which is always gonna make things harder. So anyway, you have so much better opportunities to feel in all kind of ways, I think, if you are without any substances. Like,
yeah, because most people do. I mean, 85% of the population is on some form of caffeine. So most people are on substances. So it's very rare if somebody went through, and most people that go through a really bad trauma do go to substances later in life.
Yeah, Jennifer say it's crazy because the bad days I just want to be out and distract myself. Yeah, it's so normal. I had it that so much where you were. It's so normal, Jennifer. I remember those 4 months. It was terrible. I don't want to tell all that's why I try to keep it like, when I started to do this work, I have been having this positive vibe, but it was hell. Yeah. It was like, I know. So hard. It's hard.
And we were so confused. We didn't know what it was. And like, you're going through this, even knowing what it is, you still have to go through the symptoms and get through the day. But to know that you're healing and to have that understanding, it would have helped me. And it would have saved me a lot of money, you know, because again, like, go to the doctor, get checked out, blah, 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 make sure organically you're fine. Maybe some people have some low vitamin D, because you're going to start naturally absorbing nutrients anyway.
Yeah, Santa Cruz said, my grandma is 95 and she still likes Coke Zero. Yes. This is, I'm smiling because this is always like the most comment that I get, like my grandma. But that's like, yeah, and it is what it is.
I know. It's like, who was saying that the other day? My great-grandfather lived to 92 and he drank 5 cups of coffee and he was fine. And I do think it has something to do with every generation is getting a little weaker and weaker. So like, that's a grandmother that, you know, that's generations above, and we're getting weaker and weaker with our immune systems and down the line stuff. But everyone is different, but maybe, yeah, that whole argument that my grandmother drinks caffeine and she's fine. I don't know.
My grandmother still was pretty fine, pretty late, but even she wasn't caffeine on the kid. But do you know what? That we don't know how they would be without that. And also that
even more optimal.
If your eyes are open and you are looking at the one thing, but it's nobody home. That's one saying that one really good biochemistry said about caffeine, that your eyes are open and you are really able to stare. But when it comes to more time and more tolerance and more adapted, there is really nobody home. Like, so
that's a really good way to look at it, because just because somebody's on it, it doesn't mean they're the most optimal. And you might think that they're so healthy and doing so well, but they're probably on medications. I mean, my grandmother lived to 95 and she consumed caffeine and she had all kinds of issues by the time she was 95.
And this is no
And
judgment. This is just like
No,
we and both those like you said, Mandy, those generations, they weren't in that kind of forms of caffeine than we were, and they were probably anyway healthier generation what comes to that.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that I believe that with toxins and environment and
other things, vaccines,
caffeine,
there are so
whatever,
many other things now that are
there's so many factors that we're getting. Well, look at infertility. Like infertility is like 50% higher than what it was 50 years ago. Like we are getting weaker as a species. I think.
Yeah, I know, and I know you are not. Yes, I don't want to say it like that. It's just I was laughing because that is the grandmother thing. Is always what people are when I do Finnish live. They always my grandmother drank caffeine and
I know,
caffeine is good, and but it's not like I know you are sweetheart and
And the thing is, when people are we're not. I mean,
we're not never judging.
We've heard it all. Yeah, we're not trying to get.
I'm just hearing so much. I have been having even people teasing about me, bullying about me about this lot of like. That's why I'm letting it all out because there is a lot of bullying people.
Yeah, and we get a little defensive because it's like, hey, we know what we went through, and I really think it's funny when we're trying to share our experience when other people need it, like Jennifer, because it is happening to us, just because it's not happening to everybody. Why do people need, and I'm not saying that person's doing this, but there are people that do it. Like, why do they need to take up for caffeine? Because they're kind of saying something that if it's not hurting somebody, then good, go ahead. But we're trying to give the information for people that it's not, that it is affecting in a poor way. And that's okay that it's affecting people. It's like, it is.
Yeah. And that's why
it does affect everybody.
That's why this should be taught at school also, because now the energy drinks and all that, they are just, we see with Mandy, more and more kids are coming in this train. And for me, kids, they are so important. Like, the whole world is depending on the next generation. Like, but of course, the old people can quit too if they want. But I'm not. Go ahead if they can do fine.
We're just sharing what happened to us and like the information that we have for people who are going through it. And it is an important topic. And it's okay if people want to, what are we hurting by saying what happened to us and like to, hey, wean off if you want or whatever. Like that's not telling someone to get off of a mind altering substance. Like what is that hurting? You know, but we're not telling someone to go on it, you know, and we're not telling people that are fine on it that they should quit or they should keep going. We don't care. I'm past that, you know, trying to save the world with it. It's like people are going to do what they want.
Yeah, Multimacker Mix says, yeah, and I know Santa Cruz, you are really trying to quit and you are doing amazing work. And I know you will succeed one day. It's awesome. It's gonna be like that. Multimacker say, eat a drug. I think it affects everyone. I just think people don't realize they drugged up. Yes, 100. I would.
And it just affects everybody. So it can affect everybody so differently. Yeah. Somebody could be affected more with stress, which causes a sleep issue, which causes the mental. Somebody could be affected more with like stomach issues, or have all of it. I had all of it. You know, what did we say before that we think that people that are, and this is a really good kind of take up. It's like I'm taking up for it. Like people that are really affected so negatively. It's like our system is really intelligent because it's saying, hey, don't consume this poison because it is literally a poison. It kills insects and it's just a psychoactive stimulant poison.
Yeah, and Annie said, other Annie. Hey, Annie.
Oh, hey, girl.
Hi, Annie and Mandy just came to say hi, especially to Mandy, who I don't see so often. Mandy, I got a job. Hope you're fine too. Had a quest for a week and I'm so exhausted, but I have always been like this. Annie is a benzo quitter.
Yes, that's so good. Congratulations to your job.
Yes, it's amazing.
And listen to your body. If you feel tired, rest and all that, you know how to do it.
Yeah, Annie, rest definitely, because at least for me, and I know that you are in such a better place and you can start to work, but just know that even your body can still be a healing in from the benzos too. So just know that it's normal if you still get overwhelmed also. But can be normal too.
Yeah, is other Annie, she's with 14, 15 months free from the benzos, but it's just
No,
on a little
are
caffeine.
you're still caffeine, but are you Annie 6 months free from benzos?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Annie have been healing really, really well.
Oh, nice.
Do you wanna tell Annie how many months if you want? And yeah, because I don't know.
Off of caffeine? Is she Are you weaning off of caffeine? Not that it matters.
No, not yet. I think, but Annie can answer.
Yeah. If you want. So do you want me to talk about? So I was talking about the PMS stuff and the stress, but the whole.
I was interested about Mandy. I would really want to know about the PMS stuff. Like, what really happens in those certain, like you said about ovulation. But I would want to just know, like, in really simple way, that what is it? Why it changed so bad? Why we do feel so bad?
What I have here is some information about day 21, basically. But what was I going to say? Yeah, why it can be so bad because of the stress. But this is what's interesting. So the precursor to, we talked about the precursor to adrenaline,
dopamine,
which is dopamine. And so dopamine, so two things with the hormones. So dopamine, I was saying earlier, dopamine is you were telling me it regulates hormone production, right? It regulates hormone. So we don't have hormone issues. It's if you don't have enough dopamine, then your hormones are going to be off. And you don't just have an imbalanced hormones. Your dopamine is going to be off because you're low dopamine. I mean, your hormones are going to be off because you're low dopamine because of the stress. What we talked about earlier. That's why I talked about that pathway earlier. It starts with the the phenylalanine, the tyrosine.
I will shortly. I will answer or read this. So Annie says,
"Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm resting and I will take own time next week. Started tapering 13 months ago and 6 months off. Still on caffeine. Will quit when fully healed and got some time in between. We will heal motto. Yes, we will heal is our motto. And Chris is also there. Hi, Chris.
Chris, what's up?
But now go ahead with the hormones.
Yeah. And anytime interrupt me because I have it all right here and I can just start over.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Anytime. So, so you have to have the dopamine to regulate the hormones anyway. And then another way, okay, so here's the other precursor to cortisol. So it takes cholesterol, and another thing too, our body will make cholesterol, but it won't make the phenylalanine and the tyrosine. We have to get that from protein.
Cool.
And yes, some people plant-based, and that's a whole other topic. But I think saturated animal fat and protein is the best. But you can get, because I asked, you can get it from, I looked it up, you can get it from plant-based protein as well. But there's some other things that you don't get from being plant-based, but that's someone's prerogative. So it takes cortisol, and then it goes to pregnenolone, and then it goes to progesterone, and then it goes to hydroprogesterone, and then deoxycortisol, and then it gets converted to cortisol. So it takes progesterone to make cortisol. So that's why they say when you're stressed and you're high cortisol, they call that the progesterone steal, because it takes progesterone. So people talk about that, right?
Yes, they talk about that. Is common. They say that progesterone steal.
Progesterone steal. But when you think about it, that day 21, that's when progesterone is supposed to be the highest. Mm-hmm. And if you're high stress from the cortisol, which we get from quitting big odd substances and then quitting it, it steals that progesterone to make that cortisol. So if you're high stress and you have to, that cortisol is high, then the progesterone is going to be lower than what it should be. And that's why we have PMS.
Yeah, and that's why we also can gain, when the progesterone is not imbalanced, you can, for example, feel really bloated, like really, really bloated, because it's even normally it gains a water weight. But if it's in balance, you can really feel like jittery, like jittery, and like tell me about it.
Yeah. And food cravings and things.
Yeah, food cravings, and just overall you can feel like really bit like agitated, like stressed, like you always say, Mandy, you can feel we always speak about with you, like, I feel stress in my body, like literally. Yeah. So
literally, and it's the low progesterone at that time, because it's that time, and it's like, oh, I just want to eat now. And so you start thinking like, okay, well, why am I still going through this now? And what we talk about, how when we're in the beginning of recovery, it prioritizes our main part, primal survival parts first, like the cardiovascular and the respiratory and things like that. And it doesn't prioritize digestion as much. I think digestion goes before hormones. So it has like this list, like it's always healing the central nervous system part is always healing. And everything is, I think, healing at different times, but it's going to prioritize the cardiovascular, the respiratory and all that first, and then like the endocrine, then the digestion, and then the respiratory, or then the reproductive, because it doesn't care survival. The body doesn't. It cares about surviving, not mood.
Yeah, not emotions. Not
emotions, and not getting pregnant, and not making a good poo-poo. It's like it doesn't care about that. And so those things start healing more efficiently later and later. So that's why there's like so many layers to this. And so then you get to a certain place in your recovery, and you're like, why am I so emotional and why am I so hormonal? Because that's now really doing its job, just like the intrusive thoughts and the deep depression were maybe before.
Yeah. Good. Let's see the chat. So, how can you work 8 hours without sleep is the problem. If apartments were free, then you could sleep all day long. Norogra, yes. Jennifer says, I didn't know there were caffeine pills. Thank God. I never knew I would for sure taken them. Yes, those are really dangerous also, caffeine pills. Some people do taper off with caffeine pills. I don't know how that goes, but... And Annie say, my boyfriend is trying to quit caffeine, but it's hard because he has a chronic anemia due to IBD. Yes, it's hard. But that's amazing. Amazing that he's trying to quit and you can be supporting now when you are feeling better.
Yeah. And even my husband trying to quit alcohol right now, the day that he doesn't drink, he's in the bed for literally the whole day. Like he'll get up to pee, he'll get up to drink some water. He's just kind of out of it and just kind of funky. And he's not a big caffeine drinker. So, I mean, it is a big deal with other substances. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
And again, we just talk about caffeine so much because it's underestimated. It happened to us. Because I quit alcohol and I was still functioning when I was on caffeine for a year until I quit caffeine, and then I was not functional for a while. But I'll say this: so he went 2 days in a row, like almost 2.5 days without drinking, and then after the third day, half day, he went and had a half a beer, and it was like night and day. He was fine. He was just like functional and happier and better because his brain. But I keep telling him, I'm like, I'm afraid you're going to kindle, or I'm afraid, you're going to fall off the mountain, because I don't know, it could, but it's really interesting how he can go back and then it helps him because he's withdrawing. And so that's literally what's always happening with any type of drug for however long it takes until the brain just starts naturally making that dopamine and all the other things working, that chemical cocktail the way it should with time, that the brain's always going to go, hey, get that quick fix. Even after months, years, it's going to be like, are you going to go back? Because I need all of that dopamine back,
Yeah, it wants to, and that's like when you don't fall off the mountain, like not everyone is going to fall off the mountain, then it's some people, they are able to go back. And for those people, it can still be a really hard battle because even they are not feeling like awful, terrible. They can still have the opportunity to relapse, which we didn't have. And that's why we are also, I think, able to go all the way, because we didn't have any kind of chance. Thank God for that.
And I'm thankful. Yeah, I think we're thankful. We're definitely thankful for that, because we'd probably still be on it if we didn't.
Yeah, and Annie say, be careful with benzos when quitting alcohol. I quit that and IV drugs 2011. Yeah, definitely always careful. And benzos are so horrible stuff too. So many people are like injured because of benzos. Also because of short-term use of benzos are people who have had really bad adverse reaction and injured because of that. So
yeah,
those are.
Yeah, it doesn't take. And I wonder too how many people are, when they get injured from benzos or when they have this happen from benzos, that they're on caffeine already.
Yeah, of course. That and yeah.
And then they went to the benzos in the first place because that's what they prescribed me. They prescribed me antidepressants and benzodiazepines. I was like, no.
Yeah, for me too.
Like,
I was in benzos when I was like young and some time, but not really long time. But you also will adapt benzos. Benzos will cause withdrawal. If somebody says that benzos doesn't cause withdrawal, that's not true. They do, and because they affect your brain. And think about if you take even they say the Valium is the benzo world they speak in, the Valium is kind of even the mildest stuff, and even people can heal years from that. But think about people who take Valium, Xanax, all the other benzos. So it can really, and it depending on the person, it can take a long time.
Well, yeah. And I mean, and it's the nervous system. It's all about the nervous system. But what did I do? I didn't take benzos, but what did I do for 25 years since 16 to 41? I drank alcohol. And so benzos work on GABA and alcohol works on GABA. So I was self-medicating with the alcohol instead of benzos. So just because I didn't go to benzos doesn't mean that I wasn't I needed some type of medication, some type of medicating for the anxiety that the caffeine was giving me.
Yeah, and that's why you GABA went, like alcohol is after, like benzo and like alcohol, they really, like you said, work with GABA. Like caffeine also works with GABA, but it's more like I don't know, saying dopamine, but
yeah.
And then of course the simple is like this: what have you been using? Turn down that against when you are withdrawing. If you are using stimulant, you're probably gonna be hell of a tired, fatigued, anhedonic, depressed. If you use benzo, you can have really bad akathisia, inner terror, pains, because it numbs you. Like that's.
And we had anxiety and depression. We had all of it up and down.
Okay, so we're gonna take now a little bit. I had caffeine by accident in this journey, say multi-macromic. Once I had a chocolate bar which was dark chocolate. Didn't realize chocolate contained caffeine. Once I ate it, I instantly felt better. Then I realized, yes, chocolate has caffeine. Yeah,
that's good to know that.
Annie says, haha, I almost fell off the mountain literally a couple of weeks back. Anyway, I'm gonna scramble. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Yes, you too.
I like that. Her using our term, falling off the mountain.
Yeah, love that, Annie.
You're doing great.
Yes, and Chris says, how is Mandy? Are you able to work out yet?
I just don't. I probably could, but I can walk way further than before. So that's really cool. And I feel strong when I'm walking. Like I did a really long walk session the other day. And before, my heart, was just struggling. I could just feel like my heart was just like really trying to keep up. And at the end of my walk, I just kind of checked my heart and it was beating so strong and like normal, it wasn't this crazy beat.
Yeah.
It would always scare me and kind of deter me from wanting to work out more. So I'm just kind of taking my time with it. I feel like I could do more, but I don't know. I just am kind of happy where I'm at with it, but I know I'll get there.
Yeah, you will get there. And I'm like, I have days that I have skate like crazy and my heart is pumping really, but it's not like a dizzy or anything, but I'm getting there. I am in the phase that my body finally starts to adapt that. And it's really interesting.
Your heart's strong.
It's interesting phase to be able to.
I think the closer I get to 5 years, honestly, the closer I get to 5 years, I'll be able to be more active like that too.
I think in 5 years I'm done with anxiety, but that was all the time I guess. But people doesn't never believe me, but that is still my guess. Yeah. So,
but it's so much better up to it gets better and better. It's not, yeah.
It's so much better. Yeah, you're gonna get there, Chris. What does Jennifer say? I went to the hospital like 3 times, and now I owe bill of the 10,000 because the first month I didn't know I was withdrawing. Oh yes, this is 10,000. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but it happens to many because people, of course you go to the doctors, like people go. I didn't go because I'm a stubborn person, but
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did because I was scared. I mean, I never wanted to go to the emergency room in my life the way I wanted to go after that first panic attack. Because, was I telling you that, because, the type of panic attack I always had was very physical in my body. It didn't just like start in my mind. It would like start a sensation in my body, or I would feel like a blood sugar crash, because we know that caffeine and any drug raises glucose, especially caffeine, alcohol.
Yes.
So if you quit, then your glucose gets dropped. So you have to, we kind of have to, that was kind of two of my main things, like always having to eat and not being able to like fully work out, which is very normal.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I also had the panic attack, was like a whole body experience, like almost like something's gonna get me, like, the feeling something's gonna attack you, but you don't get it away. I don't know how to explain it. Like you get a heart attack feeling.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I was in a bag, like you see in the movies where people are like, using the bag and just. It wasn't like that. It was like I would freeze and like see death. It was like I thought I was dying. I thought I was going to die. That's why I needed to go to the emergency room. And then, but so I was looking it up, and I don't know, Ani, if you've ever heard of this, because I've heard of like somatic healing, but it's called a somatic panic attack instead of like
told
a
me
mental
that.
one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, have you ever heard of that?
No,
I don't know. I don't know if that really is something, but it's more of like a physical sensation in the body. And I think a lot of things happen to do with it, but I think blood sugar dips really kind of can cause them too.
Mandy, show us your dog, says Jaakko, and there's other comments. So, and all they say, Jennifer says, and all they said was the same, that it was anxiety and I need medications for it. I was like, nope, and walked out. I'll ride it out on my own. Yay!
Yeah,
that's the
that's their only answer.
Yay!
Like, no.
Good, Jennifer.
Hey.
Okay, let's see the dogs.
Come here, bubbies.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, come here.
Oh my god. They are so sweet.
Willie.
Oh, Willie.
And that's Sydney. Oh.
Oh my goodness.
He's 6 years old. Oh my goodness.
He's so brave.
He's really cool. And then Sydney, I don't want to pick her up because she's like 13 now.
Yeah. Sydney.
I watched them. I've been babysitting them for a year. And I get the whole house to myself, and they have a pool, and like this has been my gig. But they're moving. They're actually moving to Florida from Texas here to Florida. And so I'm going to have to get my big girl job here soon. But it's been a really good gig for me when I was finishing school and then finishing up the end part of my anxiety journey or my recovery journey.
Yes. Babysitting dogs is amazing, the most important job.
So fun.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I might become...
yeah, go ahead.
It might become my It might become my full-time gig. I don't know.
Yes. And then I will...
Dog watcher.
I will give Prikka to you. Okay, so Nora gonna say, what about nicotine? It relaxes you the most. Nicotine.
About it.
Yes.
Nicotine is the only drug that's a dual drug. It is a stimulant and a relaxant at the same time.
Yeah, both.
Depressant and a stimulant at the same time, and it messes with neurotransmitters.
My ex-boyfriend is now smoking still a lot of cigarettes, but he is buying those nicotine. They put here in like a sniff. But it's nicotine. Do you know that they put here that?
Like the dip?
Yeah, like this. And he's trying to
they do it up here.
smoke less, and he's using those. But it's a good start.
To wean off, yeah. Yeah, it's just like it relaxes you just like alcohol does, but it doesn't mean it's good, right?
Yeah, so Yeah, what is else?
Laxative.
Multimacronym. Yeah, I spent fortunes, probably 7,000 on appointments with natural doctors and supplements, not knowing it's all anxiety and healing. Yeah, that is very common.
I literally spent 7,000 too. Like, how many of us go through that? I went to so many chiropractors and acupuncturists and bought supplements, and I never even would take them on. Then my husband was like, and my mom, they're like, why don't you stick with one thing? Because I kept jumping around because nobody really had the answer for me, because there really is no answer except for like, you're just healing and it's time.
Yeah. Jaakko asked what's the other dog called? Sydney and Willie.
I thought I said that one's Willie. Oh no, I'm backwards. There's Willie. Yeah. Yeah, his name's Willie, and I call him Bubbies. Bubby. Yeah. And Sydney, I call her Mama.
You're so sweet.
They're so sweet. Do you need to go outside? You need to go potty? I'll let him out. Here, you can see me take him out.
Oh.
And also, I was looking at, because, you know, I've been so hungry and gaining a little weight. And I was also doing some research about that, how when we are releasing the emotions and the hormones are kind of doing its thing, because it's cravings. And I don't look at it as an addiction. I don't crave alcohol or caffeine, but I kind of crave more carbs only at this time, only during the luteal phase, right before period. And I'm honoring my body where it's at. And I know that because this is part of the recovery process, like I said, the endocrine system, the reproductive system, and all that is going to kind of heal last. And so it just makes sense that, like, whatever I'm kind of going through right now, I'm going to honor my body. And because it takes a lot of energy to heal those things, I think that's why I still have workout intolerance a little bit, even though I can do way more, is because a lot of energy is being spent to heal those parts of the process.
Yeah, I agree.
If that makes sense.
I agree. Same for me. The hormones will be the last one. That's why I always say I have still have been some kinks around my periods. Like, I even think naturally when we heal, we are not gonna have, like, we maybe have a little moody or a little bit tired. That's normal during our periods, but we don't have any of this. Like, we don't have, like, I don't have anymore any of that what I had like before, even on my periods. But still some kind of little stuff. It's healing.
Yeah, because again, if dopamine regulates hormones, and that's part of the systems, you know, the 12 systems that need to go through the process. You need to go potty, then that makes sense that just has to go through its cycle of it, and it's just part of it. And like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't want to sit there and make anybody feel like, oh, you're not 100%. What does that mean? There's so many different layers to it.
Yeah,
and for people that are 4 years now, you know, that are still experiencing the emotional stuff. Like, it's so nice to know that we're completely free, not going back to anything else, and we're experiencing different levels and layers of it.
Yeah, and some people have been acting really rude also to me, to just like, they try to come to my Discord and just ask like how many % you are, not even saying hello or thank all the work that you have done or something. That's why I sometimes get irritated, because I have been just trying to help people, and that's what I do. And like, the thing that I'm able to share my journey here in YouTube haven't been easy, or not for Mandy too. So, like, it's not gonna mean that you have the exact same thing, but I have right to say how long it have taken me to heal without anyone like bullying me. Or from now on, if somebody bullies me, I just ban them right away, because I don't like, I think we shouldn't bully anyone. Like that, if somebody shares their experience, it's their experience. But anyway, let's take the chat. So
well, and think about it too. Like if someone's on caffeine and they're like usually people that are on caffeine, they're just dysregulated or they're just angry and they're like people don't act like that. You know, if they're in a sympathetic, parasympathetic, calm state, you don't go into somebody else's channel and like tell them what they're going through or not going through and not be empathetic. Like that's just so.
I never ever would
negative.
go in the benzo. I'm appreciating every benzo story. I'm so much putting hearts every benzo survivor, every story that I have heard. My heart goes out. I'm crying with them. I never would put anything. Even I wouldn't have the same experience myself. I don't know why people do that. Like,
well, and I know, and it's such a unfortunate thing, and I really think it just comes from a place of fear for them, like they're going through something, and not good. But here's the thing. I know you want to read the. Try to remember.
Yeah. So Jennifer asked, what supplements did they suggest? Yes. So Multimacromy says exactly same with me, Mandy. I would buy supplements, take them for about a week or so, then stop. I had to throw them all away few months. Still, life is too short, and the end will be only cosmetics and painkillers. Yes, a pneurogram.
I can barely hear you because Willie's running around. Go.
But go ahead. I think, we're gonna go 2 hours probably. It's 1:40, so let's hit the rest.
That is crazy. Another thing I just want to say really quickly about life in general is that just a minute, is that it takes a negative and a positive, you know, like it has to, you can't just have positive. I think we were talking about that the other day. Like you can't just have positive all the time or negative all the time. Like life is all about the negative and the positive. And so it's kind of like, I think we'll get to a place where we welcome people's opinions and the argument in it. And we don't feel threatened or like we're being judged or we're being told, no, it's not. I think we just, when it's almost like we get to more of that parasympathetic calm state, even if they're in that negative sympathetic fight or flight state, we're in that rest and digest state. And we're just like, whatever, you know, but then we also can say how we feel like, okay, I don't want to be around this energy today. Maybe one day we want to be around it, but we have that option to just be like, that's your opinion. It's just your opinion. And that's okay, you know, and
I have been learning so much. And Mandy, by the way, have the own channel. I can link that also.
Oh, yeah. And I haven't been making videos only because I got this new mic and then I came over here and I've just been kind of, I don't know, you know what it is? Yeah. I love helping people, but sometimes it's like this selfish thing because my journey's been so hard that sometimes like when I make videos, sometimes it's like I want to make it for me as my own kind of reflection sometimes. And like, I'm not really ready yet to just not be in that realm. And like, that's why you're so brave. And so, I mean, you're just the most amazing.
I'm stubborn, not really
you're stubborn,
very,
in a really good, in the best way possible.
Very stubborn.
And again, I mean, I helped in the quitting caffeine group before I got out of there at my 2.5 years. I've helped, you know, but it's like something about when I started making the videos, it might be a little bit of the doubt. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to be as honest and authentic as possible, but I don't even really know what it is, but I'm going to make more videos. So I have my mic. I got a new camera.
Do you want that I link your channel still?
It's at home. Sure.
Because it is amazing. You do when you do. And I just want to thank you, Mandy, for that you have been like a big sister to me, like with everything, like you have taught me so many things about this that I can be authentic because I have so much people pleasing. And when you started to speak about that and that we don't have to try to be anything else and all the things that you have teach to me, to patience and stuff, I cannot be like, I'm so grateful for you. Like almost like without you, I don't know how would I have coped all these feelings. And you are just always like, yeah, but don't worry about, and I know Kato have a lot of good things to tell to you, and like you just know.
Well, first of all, you've helped me so much too.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And just the friendship and the connection, because that's what we want in life. We want connection. We do.
Yes.
But it's having that, like I said earlier about the negative people, like we don't want that connection with them. And it's just kind of like, okay, they're who they are, opinion. And then we have the choice to be around positive, like-minded people. Like, how cool is that? And I choose you. I choose the people that I choose the people that are aligning with my beliefs and energy and where I'm headed, because we only are going to build each other up that way. And then, the whole Cato thing, when I have sessions with him, we don't really talk about anxiety. We talk about life lesson stuff, because all the things that he matured in, we're all immature at some point in our life, all of us as children. And then, but we grow and our brains develop, and then we become more mature and secure. I never did, because I was on substances. And so now I have been maturing and securing through the emotional release for the last year and a half. It's just natural. And it's so cool.
Yes. And I have been learning, before, we had this talking break with you, then when we both kind of wanted to take the break. It was, I think, around last summer, we decided that because we still had so much that emotional stuff and healing going on. And after that break, I started to really learn that I started to trust more people, because before that I was always like, okay, if I'm bad, I'm just not gonna lean anyone else, nothing else but me and by myself. But now this is also healing for me, that I'm finally starting to gain trust that, okay, there is a good people out there, and you I trust, but there is not a lot of people that I still trust. But I'm learning about that connection. Yeah. Because it comes back.
Yeah. It does. Because I think we're naturally supposed to trust, but we're also supposed to have that instinct of being safe and careful, but to trust more. I get that. And here's something I want to share before we go, because I know we're about to go. But okay, so because I was having kind of my hormonal moments the other day, which wasn't bad, but I was craving. I went and got some chicken, and I went to the drive-thru, and I'm not going to eat like that much, because the chemicals probably. But anyway, I did it. I'm not going to beat myself up. But I was in the drive-thru, and the lady, took my order, and then I was like, okay, well, bye. Thank you. Bye. Well, I asked her a question about the mild and medium. I was like, or mild and hot. And I was like, do y'all ever have a medium? And she was like, no. And not very friendly, I was like, oh, okay. And then I said, okay, well, bye. Have a good day. Bye. Or have a good night. And she just didn't say anything. I was like, bye. And I drove off, and I was like, years ago, before I quit, I took everything personally. I would have been in my head going, does she not like me? Did I do something? Did I say something? And that's I just think about how, not negative, but how my mindset was. And I don't know if that had something to do with being fight or flight or anxiety, or if it was a behavior that I really thought that it was my responsibility to make other people go by. Like they were supposed to do how I was doing it, and be friendly and to not, and then the other day when it happened, I felt the way I think we're all supposed to feel, just kind of okay, she's just a bitch, or not a bitch, but okay, she's in a bad mood, or that's her personality, or she's having a bad day, or whatever, or it's not that she doesn't I really thought that people, when they were acting like that, they didn't say hi or bye or act friendly, that they didn't like me. I took it personally like that, weird. And now that where my brain's at in healing, and I'm coming back to me, I don't think like that, but I was having a reflection of wow, I used to really think like that. At the grocery store, I'd be what did I do? How could I have made it better? And now it's I'm in my head, not thinking itself, because that's the thing when we're immature, as kids, we take things really personal, because that's how we are as children, because we can't regulate our nervous system. And so we're very defensive and take things personal. And as you mature and secure and your self-confident comes back and all that, we should have had, we said, this is our second chance. We don't take things personal. It's we just go on okay, bye. And you're yourself still. And you're okay, bye. And you don't care that they're not saying bye back or whatever. It's so, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has ever had that.
I had that for sure. I was always taking things kind of personally. Even I wouldn't want to, or even if I wouldn't respond that, I didn't respond, but I just was feeling I'm I'm this, I'm that, and that's why I also have been isolated all my life pretty much, because I don't do good with people. But now, and that's also, I think we have a different personality. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely have to say.
And I would ask all the time to like close family and friends. Like the thing that came out of my mouth all the time was, "Are you mad at me? Are you mad at me?" Like I said it all the time. If people, they didn't text me back or call me back, or I think I said something wrong, I was like, "Are you mad at me? Are you mad at me?" I don't talk like that anymore. It's just natural that I don't, first of all, I don't care if they are or not. Like it's not going to make or break me because I have so much strength in me now, but they're probably not even mad in the first place. But even if they are, but I would always be like, "Is that bad? Or did I do that wrong?" Or yeah, "Are you mad at me?" came out of my mouth multiple times a day. And I'm not like that anymore.
That's so
because
cool.
we mature. And I think being on substances, it helps us stay, it keeps us immature. So by becoming free, we naturally become our most authentic self, which is the way we always were supposed to be. It's just this whole connection. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it happens naturally.
Brain matures from the back to front, like behind. Yeah. It's cool. Still later you can grow in your over 40s. Pretty cool. Right. Okay, so last comments. Jennifer says, "I was taking NAC and it made me feel good. Not gonna lie, but then I was like, it's concerning, it's make me feel good. Lol, it is messing with my nervous system, so I stopped." Yeah, that's good. Kato, last video
was about NAC.
It's NAC. It's like that antioxidant.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Because remember, Ani, we've talked about how when we were on caffeine and stuff, we always felt so bad that we were always doing like, what did you call it? We were always stacking our supplement. What did you call it? We were always doing some type of, you called it something. And I was always doing that too. Like I loved going to the supplement store and always, what did you call it?
Yeah, on caffeine.
Yeah, but like we were always doing, like I used to put butter in my coffee. We were always,
we were biohacking. Biohacking. I was doing the biohacking when I was on caffeine. Bulletproof coffees, all that.
Bulletproof coffee. Oh, yeah. I did that.
So I was a lot of that. Didn't help. I was just seeking some quick fix without knowing. So yeah, I was like, it's concerning making me feel good. Well, it's messing. Yeah. So I stopped. That's what I read. Kato, last video was 2022. He started the journey 2050. That says it all, really.
Right. Who said that?
Multi McCormick said, "I tried NAC, didn't nothing for me in my beginning. Same with ashwagandha, didn't help. Yeah, it didn't make me feel anything either. I just stopped the overthinking. It just stopped the overthinking." Yeah, don't take supplements.
It'll happen naturally. You don't have to spend the money. You don't have to. I mean, if anybody, we've said this before, if anybody has a quick fix, if anybody has the answers to this in a short amount of time, please share. But then you probably, and again, if you do have a quick fix, you probably haven't completely fallen off the mountain. Yeah. But if you have this amazing way to get through this quick, please share. But it's
not it's not possible, because also with alcohol addiction or any other long-term addiction,
I'm being kind of what's the word? Not snarky, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, okay, maybe someone does find this answer. What did we talk about before, that like going in a coma would, because we heal when we sleep, like going in a coma would heal us, but it would still take time. It would still take the time.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Donnelly Snipes, which I love. I would want to finish Dr. Donnelly Snipes someday, but I won't be, because
I love her too.
She's so amazing. She said that pause are almost like healing after big surgery. Like you can look that in that way. So there's all these systems that are healing all in different phases, different time. So that's why it's not linear. You cannot say now I'm gonna heal my these and these neurotransmitters, and they heal different parts of the brain, also heal different time. So that's why it's interesting.
Just like the different systems in the body are gonna take priority over others, and then they kind of like building a house.
Yes.
I have to figure out my.
Yeah. So that's good. This was good. Lot of Lot of good stuff. Thank you. Chat time, says Multi McCormick. That is good way to end.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
I know one thing about what Multi McCormick said about keto. Yeah. So like he actually, it was October of 2014 when he fell off the mountain, and he made his first video at 3 years off. And then he didn't make another one until 5. And then he made more and more and more. And it just kept getting better and better. I mean, he was quality of life by 5, but it just kept getting better and better. And he didn't know. And here's the thing that's really cool. I've asked him, I said, hey, when I get my channel really going, are you going to be a guest on my channel? And he said that he would. I don't know.
Yay. That's really cool.
Because I'm gonna really have him talk about how, you know, when he made videos, he didn't have a keto ahead of him. He was only experiencing it as he was going. And so then he started helping other people. But he was saying, the way he was saying that the healing looked, somebody at 2 or 3 or 4 years would be like, but you know, now all my emotions are starting to come out, all these different things. Then, and here's another thing about his journey. Because he was already mature and didn't have the emotional stuff coming out, he was like, boom, 5 years, he was better, even though it kept getting better and better. But, you know, you and I kind of had the emotional and the behavioral stuff and the immaturity that is now unraveling, which is so cool. So like we become more functional. The anxiety part, after like 5 years, it's better. We're functional. We're working out, but still some things. And it's like, you just don't go back to substances no matter how hard it is, and just keep letting that behavioral stuff process out and become more mature and secure, mature.
That's so cool. And that is opportunity number 2, like you said. Thank for God for that, and thank for Jesus for that. And thank you for all the chat today. Sorry if I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm also really excited because I have this dopamine so high. I don't know. I'm a little bit excited for that. But yeah, I don't wanna, like I said to Mandy, I don't wanna celebrate too high, because in this journey I have learned that sometimes I have had a setbacks. Even I don't know if I will get them, but at least for now.
Yeah, that's why we're told, you know, humble yourself, don't celebrate too soon. But it is exciting because we know, well, I think what's most exciting, even though we continue to have the healing waves until we don't. We don't really know, you know, until our bodies completely. But it's exciting because just like in the beginning with the very few short windows and waves, and it gets bigger and bigger, like every single time we feel really good, what we said earlier, that's really where we're headed when we're completely healed, like constant. Like I was talking to Kato one time and I was having a good moment like 6 months ago, like really good. And I was just like, oh my God, I feel so freaking good. He goes, Mandy, that's how I feel all the time. And I was just like, yes, you know? And he also would say, on your good day right now, like where I was a year and a half ago, he's like, on your good day, that's like a bad day for me. I'm like, okay.
That's a motivation. For sure. For all. And
for everybody. Yeah. I say all these things to help others because even though it's hard for me to make the videos on my own right now, not hard, but I'm here to help others really.
And do with own time. And like I said, I have been wanting to do also other videos in my channel. Now I am planning to do videos about gambling addiction. I have been doing videos about porn addiction support. All because I have motivation to speak also so much other stuff. Not saying that, of course, this caffeine stuff is almost always like important, and it's something that I do. But like you said, we wanna live life now. We wanna do other stuff that we are able to do, not just speaking about symptoms. But who wants to speak about symptoms when you are over? Of course, when we're helping. But I will say, when you heal, you don't wanna speak about symptoms. No, you don't want to. No. Yeah.
You want to talk about other things, and you kind of want to divert it in a way that benefits you, but also helping. Because that's kind of what I was thinking the other day, and why I didn't make any more, because I was talking more about behavioral stuff. And I'm like, but wait a minute, there's so many people that have joined my channel that want to talk about what they need to talk about in the moment. I'm not really there anymore. And so I want to get to a place where I feel like I'm helping people, but doing it to where it benefits me too and feels good to me and authentic to me where I'm at in my life. How many viewers are right now? Even though we're going, I just want to know how many are.
Kato said he felt better around 4 months.
Who said that?
Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer. Good. Yeah. See, that's why I said all that, because he was making his videos and he says, okay, give it 90 days. Because that's the first, what did I say in the very beginning? I'm glad you've been here the whole time. The very beginning when we started the video, we knew of you being at 4 months. I said that I had my first window of glimpsy Philly goods at like 4.5 months. But then I started experiencing what we know as windows and waves, and that's how we heal. It's not linear. And so, and then if you notice, Jennifer, I don't know if you've watched all of his videos, but his later videos, he started saying, in one of them, he specifically says, and when I make a video with him, I'm going to try to get him to say more on it. But he says that if he could go back and do it again, he said he didn't lie, but he kind of didn't say it the exact way, because how are you going to tell somebody it can be a certain amount of time? But we think that it's important, because once you do get to a certain amount of time and you're still healing, that something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, once you get past 4 months or you get past a year, and you're like, why am I still experiencing stuff? Because it is not linear, and it's windows and waves, and it just keeps getting better and better. And then if you're someone, that's why we talk about the tsunami wave. Not everybody tsunami wave, I don't know, but we did. And it's all about healing. And so his perspective was he didn't want to share it. And I also think like him being a guy and like he didn't want it. Like I think Ani and I are more vulnerable and transparent, just kind of who we are as human, like individuals.
That's okay. He did his best. He did his best. And
yeah. But that's important. I'm glad we're talking about that, because if you just watch like one specific video, it might look differently than like the way that it really was. Because again, as you see the progression in his growth, you can tell he was like, if you watch his 3-year video, that first one, and then you watch like the very last one, he's like a completely different. And yes, he's older, but he was already 40 when he made that first video. He sounds like a kid. Like he sounds, he was coming out of the cocoon. And he was able to work. He was a type, like most guys, like we talked about in this video, that most guys can work and work out more than a woman, because a woman has more of that stress response, and we create life, so we have to like nourish and be whole. And so the men are out there like gathering the food and the twigs, and they're able to just kind of physically do more. So it might look different. Everybody's journey is going to look different for so many different factors. But no matter what, and no matter what drug you're healing from, and no matter what you're going through, if you're completely free, you will heal in your amount of time that it takes you to heal, 100%. And if somebody relapses and things like that, or they're still consuming the substance and they're wanting to quit, that's a completely different story. It took me to 41. Like we all have our journey of getting there, of relapsing and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But if you have fallen off the mountain, you have this internal chemical anxiety, nervous system thing going on, you stay free and you heal. You just do.
Yeah, and that's why we always have been, like you said, we are the persons that we have been wanting to be honest and tell about our journey. And I knew that when I make that one video where I was 16 months off in the good window, I did get tons of comments like, yeah, good to go. Yeah, great, Ani, great work. A lot of good positive comments. Then after that, when I started to share that I have more healing going on, nobody really wanted to comment. I started to get those nasty comments. No, it's not caffeine anymore. You are just mentally ill. No, it's something else. And I did remove that video. I don't want to put that in YouTube. I don't care about anything like that before, because that was my truth. This is my truth, and it just kept healing continued. And yeah, maybe you can get those good comments and leave it there, but I didn't want to do that because that wasn't the truth. Just true stories. True story is that I have been healing long time.
Yeah, could you imagine that we just said at 2 years or 3 years, like we're completely done, but we weren't, but just to get likes. Not that I'm saying that's what he did it by any means, but it does look like there's so much more, like you're so great and you're this and you're that. And like to hear that type of reaction, it would make you want to say maybe, but I don't think that's how he did it. But the way we're doing it, it just felt like we had to come from a place of not to scare anyone or anything, because it does get better and better. But we just felt like to share the most authentically, and that's okay. And I think people respect that. I think people appreciate it because they get to know, again, like when they are at that specific place, that there's not something else wrong with them. That's huge, because when I got to 2.5 years, I was, already doing so much better. 2 years, I was feeling really good. And then I hit my wave, because stress can trigger a wave. When my dog died, I was under more stress. It doesn't mean that prolonged my journey, but I think it made my wave. And being carnivore, we talk about that all the time, it made it more exacerbated. Just like if somebody takes a supplement when they're in the middle of recovery or something like that. Not everybody's going to have a reaction to supplements. That's what we were talking about earlier. But some people do.
Yeah.
And some people go, but it's part in that time frame, however long it's going to take you to heal, X amount of time, you can have stressors happen and make your experience seem more intense or exacerbated. But it is part of the process. It can be, because it's just going to take that amount of time, no matter what. It's a time game.
Mine's yours, but your journey is yours.
It's your journey. Yeah.
Yours. And then, okay, Reiki mentioned, I remember
and to get that
video,
support.
Very nasty comments. Yeah, I don't know if that's what, like, I did remove that 16 months video where there were really good comments in that video, because people were, yeah, amazing, you are healing, like that. And even that video, there were still, I cannot believe that it took you over 1 year, like, I cannot believe that. But that's, of course, it's like, I couldn't believe either that it could took. I couldn't believe either. That's in that good phase. Yeah. I was just, I'm done with this. Yeah, I got this. Yeah. And then more did come.
And you really thought that's what you were at the time. You weren't just saying it because you wanted to make people happy or you wanted to be this hero. You really felt that was where you were in that window.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it's all good. And even with the people with the doubting comment, it's very normal. It's good, because think about it. We didn't know either. Nobody knows this stuff. Like, that's all good. Yeah.
They're either coming from a place of fear or coming from a place, because it's either love or fear. And it's not like fear, like in a bad way, but it's just kind of like you just don't understand. And so it's like, how does your brain justify, like, could this happen to me? And how dare you, when we're just telling our story.
And when I have one friend who is really good friend of mine, and she's on caffeine, I never, even she knows what I do, we are really good friends, and I never scare him stuff. Like, this is what I do in my work, but what comes to personal life, I'm not with like that with people. People can do what they want, and they should do what they want. Like, we don't.
Well, what's interesting now that I'm in a different level up, and I have been for like, every 3 to 6 months we get in another level up. But I have my really good friend Jamie, and she still drinks and does things and drinks caffeine. And for forever she wanted to hang out, and I just kept putting it off. And this past summer we got together, and then I was a little bit nervous with her at first, but we've hung out like 8 times now. We talk almost every day again. And it was never like I was judging her before, but I think I'm just in a higher baseline to where it's like, it doesn't bother me that she does it. I love her as a human being, and like, she's such a good person. And yes, she wants to cut down on things, but she is where she is. Like, you have to meet people where they are. But I just feel like, wow, that's just where I needed to go in my growth to be able to, I thought for the rest of my life, I was just, for a while there in the beginning, I'm only going to be able to hang out with people that are completely free from everything, blah, 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 blah. No, it's different. It's a little different. Because we're free, but it doesn't mean they have to be, as long as they're good people and treating us good and we set our boundaries and blah, blah. But yeah,
I always like to be different people. Like those few friends that I have, like, they are all different. And I think that's a treasure. But when we are healing, we cannot really deal with anyone. Like, not even our family members.
Even my mom, who was free from alcohol and she had quit caffeine a year after me, it was hard for me. I could hang out with her, but I would get frustrated at certain things or whatever. But yeah, it's just challenging while we're going through it, but it is very normal. The body's just rewiring. It's all so not all dopamine, but it has a lot to do with dopamine. And so how many people stayed throughout?
15.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Thank you all. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
And
Everybody is just understands that this is part of it and you're healing. If you haven't quit yet, the fact that you're even here, I didn't know anything about wanting to quit or anything about caffeine before I quit. So that's just like a huge step right there. Yeah.
Me neither. I was just drinking it tons and tons and tons.
Yeah.
All the time.
Tons.
Okay, but thank you, Mandy, so much. You're amazing. And
Thank you, my friend.
Yes. Kiitos kaikille ja nyt kaikki suomalaiset myös. Kiitos. Okay, Mandy, say kiitos. Infinite.
Kiitos.
Yeah, good. Good.
Did I say it kind of like with a Spanish accent? Kiitos. Or is it?
Kiitos.
Kiitos.
Yes, that's a Finnish. That's rude.
Yeah?
Not rude, but we're Finnish are a little bit like tuk, you know, but that's the...
Kiitos. What does that mean?
It's thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kiitos.
Yes. Kiitos.
Kiitos, everybody.
Okay, bye.